Okay, I think we're live for real now. Something weird happened. I was just showing off for a half second here that you can actually open the Hightail launcher now, and download it. Um, you can't play it yet, obviously. The game's not out yet, but uh, it's there. Like you can download the launcher now, which is cool. I'm trying to get people to link to the game. Um, or not to the game, to the stream to put it in my Discord, and it's not like YouTube's really freaking out on uh the Windows side of things. Okay, let me make a new tab and try to get it there. Um Okay, there we go. Found it. Yeah. I had some trouble starting the stream today. It was kind of unusual. Normally it just kind of all works, and today, like, maybe there's a little bit of a delay, but like it actually kind of fought me today on this one. But whatever, we're going. It's live. Okay. Away we go. Single player. Oh, let me put the stream into performance mode. Try and maximize the frames I can get. Let's see. I had a practice world I was just kind of testing around in, with creative mode stuff. Let's see, 34, right? No, it's 35. That's 25. 35. Hello, everyone. This won't be that long of a stream. I plan to cut off around 3 a.m. On my side. It's about 11:28, so about a maximum of 3 hours 30 minutes for the stream. It's not a bad spawn. Good biome for food and all that. Yeah, I was testing some of the strats. I was looking into some of the stuff people were talking about for like using in the boss fight, with the Ender Dragon, and I found that some of them not terrible ideas, but they weren't actually all that viable for what I had planned. The biggest thing I realized was the people were talking about like firework launchers for damaging the Ender Dragon, and what I found is they just didn't deal enough damage to justify the time and resource requirement for them. Because I would have to constantly be risking myself against creepers, and creepers aren't that bad of an enemy in the long run of the game. Like, they're not unbeatable opponents by any means, but there still is a random chance that I just kind of die to one. So that would be annoying. It kind of hinges on all the things I can't control very well. And they're hard to aim. I really struggled when practicing to see how worth of a strategy it would be. I really couldn't land most of my shots. So I'd be wasting a lot of that time I'd be spending in the first place. So I just collectively determined it wasn't really worth it as a strategy. So yeah, it's about a 3 hour stream is my plan. Yeah, I was about to say, like, an enchanted bow actually seemed more worth my time from what I was playing and practicing. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm better at aiming that. It was more resource efficient. I was able to get it faster. Like, I was provably able to get an enchanted bow consistently, in almost every stream where I found diamonds. That was definitely not the case for the crossbow stuff, and in general, I also just didn't like using it that much. The whole thing, because you need a lot of gunpowder to justify the explosive rockets. After that, there'll be only 3 ladies left. Yes, that is true, and that's part of why I'm trying to get on this. I have another shorter shift tomorrow. I just got off work, and basically started this as soon as I got home. So sorry if I'm a little tired today on this stream. But I believe in it. I believe we can do it. Like I said, this is not a bad spawn. If we can just find a good cave. Good food source. The other thing I experimented with was I was looking at a few different bastions, like loot tables, for like what I could realistically find in a world I was running around the Nether to kind of determine that. And what I found was the bastions were another thing that just was not worth it for the premise of this run, really. Once again, that's not to say that they're not worth it in a bigger sense, and in terms of like other playthroughs of the game and all that. If I was doing a long-term like hardcore survival world, I would do bastion stuff, and I would take the time to learn all of that. However, I'm not. What I'm doing is basically a hardcore mode speedrun. And the balance of it all just does not feel like the risk to reward ratio is not worth it. In my experience with the Bastion, the only time the Bastion is worth it is either A, I get a ton of gold that gets me equipment I really needed. And maybe that would have been good if I could not find a warped forest for the life of me, but finding warped forests have not been that much of a problem. And the other scenario would have been helpful would be if I just, like, on the first chest got the smithing template upgrade and netherite scraps and everything I kind of needed. Which is incredibly unlikely. I just have not been lucky enough to really make it worth time to gamble when a one-shot death is around almost every corner there. And just in general, I wasn't... When I was looking into what it would realistically be like, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to pull this off. I've mentioned before, I'm not good at Minecraft, particularly. I'm alright purely from sheer hours put into the game over its decade-long release history, decade plus at this point. But I'm not inherently like good at the flow and reaction time of actual Minecraft gameplay. And you really need to be good at that kind of decision-making, game knowledge, and all that stuff for the Bastion to even start to justify its risk value. We tried the flooding the entire end. Or this entire center of the end. I also thought about that. That genuinely crossed my mind. That wouldn't even be that hard. If I, like, near one point in spawn created an infinite water source, like, let's say I just take, like, 3 or so buckets with me of water, and I make, like, one infinite water source near the middle, and then, like, break it so it falls apart, like, around. Sure, the initial risk is a little sketchy of it all, but I actually think it would be it might be viable on paper. Wow, thank you for the $10. Oh, oh, okay. Hold on, I need to read this. I'm so mad at the new game theory. It's horrible. The fact that Tom had the balls to talk about Michael Afton like that, it personally disgusts me. I'm so close to unsubbing. Jesus, it must be bad. From what I understand, isn't the new video the theory that Michael and the two different Michaels are different also in the game continuity? I haven't watched it yet. I've been kind of building up a tab of sort of game theory episodes I plan to watch on a later date. I mean, thank you for the $10, but that's on the list where I'm like, okay, time to see how this is justified. Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with game theory lately. Like I said, I want to do like a big stream on it at some point where I watch all the stuff I've missed, for better or worse. But that one in particular, when I was just seeing what people were saying about it, I'm just like, what the how? I I'm very concerned with the future of game theory based on some of the theories I have seen in the current Tom era. Um, because don't get me wrong, I know game theory's always been kind of its own thing in regards to how it functions for theorizing. It's sort of a series of. Oftentimes, game theory is more about trying to get you to learn something than it is really trying to solve the author's intent perfectly. But I feel like we're diverging more even from that into, I don't know how to phrase this, the kind of formulaic, this sounds like a twist that would happen even if it isn't in character for the writer of the series or for the characters in the series. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of spiders above. There must be a dungeon like above here. Like in particular with game theory, whatchamacallit, in particular with like this particular game theory, it has this feeling to me of like, but why even question that at this point? Like, what does the movie really present a case where it's a accurate enough timeline to the games to say we can throw out common assumptions based on it? Like, has the movie solved enough lore to prove to us we need it and we should retroactively apply it? I don't think it has. In fact, I would argue, if anything, it's done the exact opposite. Like, my takeaway from the movie stuff is, okay, it's being its own thing. Don't try to apply it to the lore. Can I pick up this gold, please? Thank you. Okay, I can hear the 10 million spiders up here. What the hell's going on? I feel like this was almost not clickbait, because clickbait implies like it's not actually the topic or subject of the video. But this feels to me like we needed. Okay, it is a dungeon. That's why. Well, I have a small string farm. Alright, well, that was cool. Gold bucket. Other bucket. A bread. A bread, a singular. Plenty of string, that's good. Bundles. Beef. Iron. I get to save iron on a bucket. Get a sword. Create a... Oh, I can't use that. I guess the moss invalidates it as a weapon. Like I said, it has a feeling of like a... It needs to sound like a, ooh, wouldn't that be an amazing revelation? Doesn't this change everything? Like, it felt like they had to make a video like that somehow. And this was one of the only, like, big things they could think of to overwrite our understanding of the series. Even though it makes no actual sense as an application of ideas. Because, yeah, I know there can be, like, obviously there can be multiple characters with the same name in universe. The movie is proof of that, at the very least. Scott is clearly not above, like, oh, fuck it, what if there were two different people named Michael who were both important? But it's like, the Survival Logbook, combined with Ticket to Fun, very clearly established that there's, like, one guy at play, really, it feels like. Um, like that particular part of the premise that Michael doesn't need to be the same person. I could potentially believe in one world that he isn't. However, we don't live in that world. We live in the world where Michael writes about experiences that only make sense if he went through both Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton stuff. I would argue I wouldn't even use the movie to prove Charlie dies before the missing kids. I maybe you could argue it's bonus evidence for that idea, but like I wouldn't even go that far personally. Um, like I said, to me it kind of feels like it hasn't. Like I wouldn't, and the reason I wouldn't use it for that purpose is not because I don't think Charlie dies before the missing kids. It's just like I try to be consistent about certain rules I play by for how the series works and how I interpret it. Um, and in this case, I would be if I say the movie continuity is not a good basis for how we interpret the canon, then I don't want to use it at all if possible. Um, okay. Anything else you can smell? No. Okay. So we're done with the overworld half, I would say. We're not in particularly a great spawn for diamond hunting. And we have the portal set up for the Nether, like right on the surface, right here to go. Because this is not a bad cave, it's a decently sized one. But I don't think maybe I find more iron. I might do that first. This is, by the way, and this is probably even more of a controversial take. This is the same rationale I apply with the novels. It's not that I don't think It's not that I think anyone's like dumb for trying to correlate the novels to something to prove a point. It's that there are so many times that increase as time goes on. Honestly, where something is proven or implied. Okay. In the game continuity that directly contradicts something from the novel continuity. To me, to say I would prefer if we didn't ground our assumption or interpretation of the lore and characters in the novel universe. And instead try to see if there's a way to prove that exact same point in the game universe alone. An example being like sometimes the novels are used to support the idea that Elizabeth dies before the missing kids. However, Elizabeth's death has a lot of weird, wacky elements at play in it to account for. That are pretty much all novel exclusive narrative quirks and changes. Like, we don't have the Charlie bots in the games to our knowledge. And so, as such, personally, I would prefer not basing something that entirely predicates on Henry made these robots that are copies of Charlie, that not base our assumption of the storyline where that doesn't happen on that happening, basically. Like, because that plot beat only happens that way because, to at least to our knowledge, because of the Charlie bot stuff. You can argue that that the puppet existing or whatever does the same thing or whatever, but that's harder to prove because they're not the same. There's some narrative overlap, I guess, between the puppet and whatchamacallit. Blech. The puppet and the Charlie bot stuff. Like they're not completely unrelated. But at the same time, they are very clearly different takes. At the very least, if not entirely different plot beats. So, I don't like trying to kind of overlap the two universes in that specific regard. If I can prove Charlie died before or not Charlie, Elizabeth died before the missing kids in another context, I will. Because the okay, here's the thing, with the whole, how do I phrase this? With the whole, what, how, give me a second to think on how to phrase this idea. Oh, I can't use this portal. With the whole premise of, well, how do we prove it's not blank? Because this argument comes up a lot in theorizing. That's, how do we, okay, let's take a timeline scenario, for example, where we didn't know where Elizabeth died. We didn't know for a fact that she died at Circus Baby's Pizza World on the day, whatchamacallit, on the sort of one test day that the location was opened. This same logic could be applied to how do we know she dies in the workshop, or doesn't die in the workshop in this case. How, whenever you say, how do you know it's not blank, that becomes a, like, how can I prove that it's not something we don't have evidence for? If that makes sense. The evidence is the only evidence you have there is the initial assumption. In this case, if we didn't have Baby's monologue saying my location was only open for one day, and if it didn't end with her explaining Elizabeth's death, we would have no way to prove she died in a separate location, and thus you could make that same argument. How do we know she doesn't die at Circus Baby's Pizza World? And it would sound convincing on paper, but if it was still not the case, if Scott's intent was still that she died in a different location, you would never know that or not, and then be falsely presuming something based on how the novels work. That is a proven difference between both of them, and to me, that is enough to say there are differences in the first place. The novels are not meant to be this one-to-one adaptation for how the universe works. Just saying there isn't a solid contradiction for a point does not prove its existence. This is the same fallacy that I feel has powered the Gregory is a robot arguments this whole time. How do you prove he's not a robot is a much harder task than than proving he is in the first place. Because you can take a few random scenes and moments, stitch them together, and say, these prove he's a robot. And then, if you make one of your evidence points, how do you know he's not? And then try to shift the burden of proof, it becomes a much harder argument, even if it's still not the case. And once again, that's not to correct to the other extreme. That's not to go the other direction and say everything in the novels and games have to be different. It's just that, like I said, like if there is a proof that there can be differences, and there is proof that not every difference will be instantly elaborated on. For example, Charlie dying at Freddy's versus Fredbear's. In the novel, she dies at Fredbear's. And while we could kind of have argued that with the whole, like, oh, Freddy's brown and save him, not golden, people were arguing she died at Fredbear's for years. And they used that same argument that we didn't have proof that she died elsewhere. And the fact that that argument died over time because we were eventually proven otherwise sets the precedent to me. That it's like, okay, just because something didn't stop and hold your hand and explain it was different doesn't mean it was the same. That is my big problem with the whole, how do you know it's not different? Or how do you know it is different, I should say. It's like, I don't. But I don't want to assume it's the same if that also doesn't have evidence. They should, either point I conclude with should have evidence in the first place, irrespective of the novels existing or not. If I come to the conclusion that she died at whatever fucking location, I want it to come from something that wasn't just one novel that is proven to be occasionally different. And once again, you're not dumb for having the belief that she died at Fredbear's because that's where she died in the novels. Like, I want to make that super clear that's not my, like, point or argument or whatever, because a lot of people take that as, like, a personal offense to themselves sometimes. Let me go grab that shovel for the... I was considering it. I ultimately didn't do it, but while this stuff is smelting, I might as well. I just have felt like there's more reliability to... just proving something in the games first or going off of what is present in the games first. And if that aligns with something from the novels, that's like a bonus point. Is kind of how I view it. And yeah, the Grave Order maybe could mean something, I don't know. I'm not even going to get into the Grave Order now. That's a whole separate topic. I was about to, like, talk about it, but I'm like, do I want to get into the fucking Grave Order shit right now? Yeah, exactly. It's been proven that she died at Freddy's now, so it's like... Once again, it's like, I don't want to just be like, oh, but she died at Fredbear's in the novels, therefore she has to. It's like, no. Clearly that wasn't ever really the case, because that's consistent with the information we had in the games the whole time. And the only reason people ever doubted it wasn't the case in the games was because it was the case in the novels. What's harder to argue is the other stuff that, once again, has not been confirmed yet. That's where stuff gets tricky. I will say, something I found personally, I don't know if funny is the right word, but kind of interesting about the whole movie situation, is it was one of the cases where people had really pushed that the conclusion had already been made about certain stuff. Like, for example, when the first movie came out, people were already arguing it debunked Charlie stuffing missing kids. And I said, like, well, we don't know what the Charlie like is like in this world. And pretty much every time I gave that answer to someone, their response is, well, why would she be different than the one we have? And then she was incredibly different from the one we have. And that's not to say it disproves or proves or anything about Charlie stuffing missing. It's just like, my specific comment was, I want to wait until we see how this movie Charlie works before assuming that stuff. Assuming, oh, well, she stuffs the missing kids in this universe, or doesn't do it. Therefore, she doesn't do it in the games. Because as I said, I'm like, if she's an incredibly different character in the movies, then the point is basically invalid. Because we're not really analyzing the same Charlie. But that's a much more random side point, honestly. And yeah, like you can probably already realize like why the... I just realized I broke all my gravel, all my flint. I'm a fool. Oh, there we go. There's so many reasons Charlie couldn't stuff the kids in the movie timeline. And who knows how many, if any, of those problems apply to the games or not. It's just very clearly different in the fundamental facts of it all. It's so different that I wouldn't really consider it relevant in the way that I don't consider half the shit in the movies relevant. Like, the movies are so insanely different between the games and books universe. Or games, books, and every other universe, really. They're really some of the most distinct takes on everything. That I wouldn't base it all on... I wouldn't base, like, almost any claim, really, on, well, it happened in the novels or not. That's very concerning. It is the same thing I brought up when, at the time, with the Charlie stuff. I said I wouldn't like using the novels, a timeline where Charlie never becomes the puppet, to try and prove the puppet never stuffs the kids. My point then was like, well, it's a different timeline where she doesn't exist the way the way we know her. Of course she wouldn't stuff the kids. She's not there in the first place to do it. And since there is no Charlie puppet in that universe, someone needs to stuff the kids for them to haunt the suits and all that, so there would have to be someone into that. And if we have Golden Freddy as part of the main kid set, right, well, he can't do it. Michael Brooks can't do it, because we need something that's an outside factor that already existed, like Charlie does in the games, and like William does in the novels. And so that was kind of my thought process of like, well, since the novels don't have the Charlie we know, there is no contender for like, oh, it's out of character or it's wrong to assume Charlie would do that. Which is the only real argument you can make without hinging on the novels should be the basis for the game's arguments. Yeah, and like I said, I think there's an argument to be made that could apply to the movie universe potentially. Charlie is very clearly a different character in a lot of regards in the movie continuity than the one we know in the games. That's not to say the movie... Once again, it's not to say that there's nothing in common between the two. But from how she was presented in Ultimate Custom Night, there is still clearly a difference. But I don't know, that's getting into more speculative stuff. I guess just one of my core points is like, we should really wait and see for some shit before basing a lot of arguments on stuff. Specifically, if there is going to be a follow-up that we know for sure, like with the puppet stuff. Between two movies. Like, if we're going to see the puppet in the first place, we might as well just wait and see how the puppet actually ends up. I should really break blocks. I know it wastes pickaxe durability and food to break blocks, but it's better to have the building blocks, I would argue. This is a really fucking dead as hell waste world. Sorry, bud. Well, I'm at a bit of a loss for this world for what I do. I think I saw the red forest down here. Let's check. Well, I was partially correct. Really should have boated that, but I was a little worried I was going to miss it. Um... I'm getting a lot more bold with those kind of encounters. I'm getting a better sense for the timing and way attacks and stuff interact with the shield. What do I do in this world? This nether sucks. Like, I have pretty much no good options for exploring. I guess I'm just picking a direction at this point. I mean, I guess I just go back to what I was thinking. Just pick a direction and go at this point. Anyone else have something interesting to say in the meantimes? Why do magma blocks not hurt if crouching? I assume it's based on a real concept where if you walk on magmatic coals, carefully, like hot coals, they don't hurt you. And this has to do with like the dispersion of heat and all that. And it only really hurts when you run on them. Typically. I assume it's based on that. I assume that's like the idea at play. Yeah. Theories on what the blob is. I guess I might as well pitch ideas while I'm doing this, just like word vomit some. So who's at play in the Mimic story arc, I guess is the big question. Our visual representation is Funtime Freddy's main head Circus Baby and Puppet aren't involved, their eyes are out, rather than glowing, then it's Mangle's glowing head, classic Chica and Bonnie's head, and I don't think there's a Freddy. So what is the through line with those four? I was going to say it's the characters that Fazbear Entertainment didn't create, was kind of what I was thinking, because Chica wasn't created by Fazbear Entertainment, and technically Funtime Freddy was created by Fazbear LLC. And Foxy technically is created by Murray Co., but we don't know much about Funtime Foxy, or where the fuck it came from. And likewise, we really don't know where the hell Funtime Freddy came from. Like, what its deal? Well, that's interesting. Okay. I have a plan. And the Tangled Wires is similar to Molten Freddy, but it's not molten. It's not dripping the ooze that's iconic for Molten Freddy in the first place. That's my big gripe with that connection. Yeah, I accidentally stumbled into Bastion. I was just walking towards Pig Noises because I'm like, oh, well, that should be, whatchamacallit. That should probably be an open spawn area or whatever. Okay. Oop, click out of the game. Or not spawner, it opened areas, I thought. I thought it was just random pig noises. Not a bastion. Not a bastion buried 8 billion miles deep in the bedrock. Yeah, Mangle, Classic Baby, and how do I... Yeah, Mangle has nothing to do with Pizzeria Simulator. Pretty objectively, I would say, even. We never see it in that location. It's never mentioned that location. It also has, like, no real provable ties to that location. Are you mad at me? Why would you be mad at me? Fuck. That's exactly why I'm terrified of the Bastions. It's that exact shit. That was full health. I wasn't blocking what it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, I would block the one hit only to be comboed again. I was better blocking it off. Let me see if I can retrieve lava somewhere. And the classic animatronics also don't really make sense. They weren't involved at all. And the only implication we really do have for how those things could get to the blob is it's mentioned earlier in the game that someone's been stealing things from uh you're mad at me, right? I didn't fuck, I didn't know how you reacted to that. Okay, golden carrots, that's neat. That's cool, even. It doesn't mean anything to me, though. Here, let me mark this chest off. Okay. I'm only doing this because there's no other tangible way to progress through the Nether right now. Bonus points, I'm getting a lot of food and leather. Cons, I'm getting like no gold, which is one of the main points of the Bastion. I'm not finding many chests, which are one of the other main points of the Bastion. And I'm not finding a way out of this Bastion. I'm stuck in this sort of cycle of looking for something to validate my time here, I guess. You get the glowstone. Who fucking gives a shit? I mean, glowstone's kind of useful for, like, potion craft stuff. Like, where's another chest, for example? I'm really noticing that I can't find another chest anywhere here. Fuck, I thought so. I didn't think you could get over that. Yeah, I was. So the Mick made a pile of endoskeletons and human remains, right? I mean, yeah, that stretching. That could be an origin. I didn't really feel like we lost a world there. That world was screwed from the beginning. I couldn't do anything but experiment. Possessed by the people the Mimic killed. Yeah. But what's the significance of the other masks and stuff? Because like I said, there's a message throughout the game that says things have been noticeably been taken from the display tablet stuff, like all the display stuff. and so on, which implies to me it has something to do with whoever was stealing stuff from the display. And sure, we could go the self-fulfilling route, where it was the blob stealing stuff from the display. But then that goes the question, okay, what was the blob before that? Before it had whatever it took from the display, what was it? Was it just a pile of wires? And that kind of gets into, like... And they later elaborate by saying, like, oh, one of the things that was stolen was the mini Music Men replicas. Which seems to be a Vanny Vanessa thing. My takeaway from that was those were taken to attack Gregory, like to slow him down to try and stop him. Or actually, no. Since those are other recorded messages, that means they must have been taken beforehand. So who took them beforehand and for what? What were they being used the first time, if that makes sense? Like, what... Why were they missing already? Because it's obviously setting up that someone took those and made them, like, aggressive and violent or whatever, and that's why they're attacking Gregory there. That to me, seems like the safe part of that conclusion. Yeah, I suppose there's always a possibility that the masks don't really have much to do with the blob itself. They're just kind of a face for it to have, kind of like Molten Freddy. And why in the vents? Yeah. What was so important about putting those in the vents? Oh, we got the alternate chickens. Yeah, and that's the other thing is it's not molten is the biggest thing. So it's not just a big pile of remnant like Molten Freddy was. Yeah, but why is Cassidy now using Funtime Freddy's face of all things? Why not use the original Freddy's face? Why not use a Glamrock Freddy's face? What like that implies like what's the significance of Funtime Freddy to Cassidy then? You know. This is not a bad spot here. It's interesting. It's only missing what, 2? 1, 9, 6, 7, 340 portal. This is actually really useful. Let me I want that marked off. It's a gold block, which is already good. But more than that, that's a real easy portal to build. I just need 2 lava in it, which would only be 2 buckets worth, and that would be filled. Not seeing any caves, which is concerning. Considered restarting this world, and I won't yet, but this is not a conducive biome to the speedrunning experience I desire. I'm gonna make my way back to it, and let me just like... Let me just dig for a cave, old-fashioned way. Yeah, then there's kinds of what is Burn Trap, like what was he? Is he still canon, or is he like a modified canon, where it's like, well, lore changed from what it was meant to be. could also be a Steel Wool versus Scott detail. But the fact that it looks the same in the exact next game is a little concerning for that premise. Or not in the exact game, in Ruin. That's supposed to be when Scott like started telling them the lore and quote unquote used Ruin to straighten everything out. Mild paraphrasing there, but that's basically what he said. So I'd be a little surprised if that was completely not what the blob was meant to be like, or they didn't fix the design. Yeah, that's the other thing with Steel Wool stuff is like, sure, it may not be the original Cawthon cut intent or whatever, but that doesn't mean every detail in it is automatically irrelevant or that we should presume something weird is non-canon if it doesn't fit into our current worldview. If Burntrap had like reappeared and we were directly told like this is not the same, where it looked drastically different, it looked more like the Mimic, but still had like a Burntrap design elements at play, then I would say we can assume the Mimic ending, the Burntrap ending is not canon. However, as it stands, the Mimic's design changes radically between its outing as the Mimic and Burntrap if it was meant to be the same character. Which leads me to... Okay. I'm going to pitch a theory here. So Scott said that Burntrap was more meant to be like a movie prop rather than the kind of shambling Springtrap variant that we know in the boss fight. So, what if the implication of stealing stuff from the display tablets, or display tables, was that Vanessa was siphoning old chunks of Springlock animatronic stuff and Spring body parts from old models and characters and all that to rebuild a sort of new Springtrap animatronic thing. Right? I have no coal. And wow, I'm getting more of this than I thought it would. I thought it'd break by now. There it goes. Right? And that's what that's why it's a movie prop. It's like that's what Burntrap's meant to be. Like trying to make a vessel for Glitchtrap while they're still missing access to like the original Mimic, let's say. Stretching again. Well, I kind of think on this. Yeah, there's always potential that Burntrap is Afton's course, that the Mimic is just kind of wearing. And I don't even doubt that possibility. That's kind of another thing I was considering in this kind of rant. But the idea of it almost being a replica Springtrap could also just be interesting if the Glitchtrap / the Mimic has decided it's going to be this now. I don't know. It would explain why it's weirdly half finished. You'll notice that's like one of the biggest things with Burntrap's design is it's not consistent all the way through. It has like the nightmare animatronic claws on it. It has like the Glamrock style legs. Uh, it has like the Springlock like chest piece and shoulder pieces. Um, it just kind of has a chunk of the Spring Bonnie mask on it. Uh, like it's kind of just been haphazardly stuck on it to try and fit that like image or design scheme. Uh, this world sucks. Okay, never mind. I'm not wasting my fucking time with this one. I'm not digging around 6 years to find another fucking cave. Yeah, it could also be that like Burn Trap exists canonically, but he's not finished yet. Or something like that. If I do not see an animal in or a cave, either or, I consider this spawn invalid. I need one of those two things. Cave, kind of cave, animal, thing, food. Rabbit, not good enough. Plus, it's no ordinary rabbit. Mm. Mm. I don't think so. This world does not look good. No, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so that's food, but now I need a cave to justify all of this. I'll try it. I'll try this world. I'm a little hesitant to say Burn Trap doesn't exist at all. That feels like a pretty strong retcon. The question just is, what is he right now if he's not... that, and once again, the drawing does imply it's like, well, there was something, Gregory. If that's a possible ending, Gregory drawing, that means it's like, that was something he thought of that could have happened. Or that was a twist he could have imagined to the story or something like that. Um... Once again, I kind of need a cave to, like, justify this time sink. Because otherwise, I'm running around looking for fucking more water. Cave? Please? Water? Cave? Cave? No. No. Next world. Yeah. And here's part of the reason I don't think Burn Trap, whether or not he is related to Glitch Trap, I don't think Burn Trap is physically M2's Endo. Okay, better. Better. Come on. Yes, this is what I was looking for. Okay, here we go. Because here's the thing. If we are to assume that Scott had the Mimic arc loosely in mind and or already planned out by the time Security Breach happened, and Burn Trap was meant to be there. He just wasn't meant to be what we know him as. He was, quote-unquote, more like a movie prop that just kind of appeared around the building. So, Burn Trap is canon. And I doubt his design would look the way it does if Steel War were just making it up from nothing. You know. His design description had to be something like, looks like Springtrap or whatever. On some level. Because they wouldn't just design him like that if the description was weird endo that appears around the building with, like, rabbit ears. But, so that leads me to believe stuff like the spring locks being such an clear part of its design scheme is intentional. That or Scott didn't realize they were spring locks or whatever in his design, but they're pretty noticeable. Like, they're a pretty big, like, part of its rib cage structure and design, even if you're looking at it from, like, a distance. And I would assume he would know with the Springlock suit, given that they're very clearly based on how he modeled them in Springtrap's design. Like, he has a very unique look for how the Springlocks look in his art style. Or Springlock Endoskeleton specifically. Now, the Springlocks themselves are kind of vague for what the fuck they're supposed to look like. But the endoskeletons that the Springlocks have a very clear rib cage structure to the center of them, and basically every outing of their design, including in Secret of the Mimic. And even the movie timeline also has, like, the 3 on each side spikes that orbit around your ribs that collapse back in when it's in endo mode. Okay, where are more foods? There we go. Like I said, I'm hesitant to believe or argue that all of that was not intended. Question is how much of it was. And also the fact that the Mimic doesn't have those design elements feels weird. Because even if you want to say Steel Wolf fucked up and made those up and it was supposed to be the Mimic, why not just give it the endo parts that it had before to make it clear to us? Why go out of your way to make an entire new model and basically do nothing to clarify this is a model change like they did with Roxy? Because with Roxy, they clarified it. When she had a different design between Ruin and Security Breach, Help Wanted 2 showed us why. But for whatever reason, nothing has clarified why they look so different between Ruin and Security Breach for Burn Trap. And the hands are very different between the old Mimic and the new one, so something very clearly happened between all this timescape. the kind of question just is what and where is this going? Um, I mean, the idea of Burn Trap being destroyed and the, going back to the Mimic's body kind of makes sense, except it raises the question of, like, exactly how does that work? Can the Mimic just, like, wirelessly send itself from body to body, or is it like a hive mind situation in this case? Was the other body just always there? Was it not? Like, I don't mind the explanation, but it feels like it's missing some context. Okay, I'm split on how much further I go with this cave. Because I want move. No. Because we now have the cave, and it's plausible to get food in this world. I just haven't really gotten enough for the main splunking adventures. Come on, give me more food to work with. Are those pumpkins or is that a lava pool? Assuming those are pumpkins. I don't really like leaving the big cave I found, but I need to. I am not well equipped for a cave. This will work. And looks like there's a cave here anyway. Yeah, I know theoretically Blob kills Burn Trap, right? Let's say, and then that forces it to retreat. I understand that premise. But does that imply that if you destroy Burn Trap, like the current body, it can just blorp itself back into the Mimic? And I guess if the Mimic's trapped, it needs Cassie to get out. Maybe that kind of works, but like then why didn't it just get... Why not just get... Whatchamacallit? Why not just get Gregory and Vanessa to unearth it there? When they were still under control, why make an entirely new body? If they just had the thing there and it takes like 3 button inputs. That would really go into the idea of the Mimic and Glitch Trap being separate, if it was that case. Because that would imply, like, the only real reason for it to do it that way is if it needs a new body separate from the original. Like, it doesn't want that body, it wants a new one. Which, like I said, feels like it ties into the idea that the Mimic and Burn Trap do not view themselves necessarily as the same thing. Or that Burn Trap / Glitch Trap doesn't want to be... I guess affiliated, for lack of a better term, with the Mimic. Because that's the biggest thing to me. It's like I said, clearly the design schemes are too different between the two without any explanation for me to assume they are the same physical creature right now. At least unless something lampshades and explains it later. I mean, I can believe the Mimic just wants a better body if Burntrap was a better body. But it doesn't really look like it is. The Burntrap's body seems way worse than the Mimic's by comparison. Which, like I said, is what makes me think it's about more than just, I need a body this second. Like, it wanted specifically Burntrap's body. And once again, that kind of goes to, like, the stealing things from the equipment. It's like, it wanted those pieces, it wanted those things. It didn't want its old stuff. Okay, now we got enough food. Feel good about that part. And we got the caves. This world seems a lot more doable. Another cave, it looks like, over there. I mean, I know it's not unlike Scott to do new entire designs, but usually it represents something happening in the universe. Like, even the Unwithereds to the class animatronics, I'm not going to get into the whole, like, do you believe the Unwithereds exist or not argument, or whether they were the 1983 or not, or whatever the fuck. I'm not getting into that right now. What I want to get into is, like, clearly they are meant to be the same animatronics between FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, because they talk about reusing the old characters and moving them back to a new location, or moving them back to a smaller location on a smaller budget. So clearly to me, they are meant to be physically the same endoskeletons, or not, maybe not endoskeletons or cosmic or whatever the fuck. They're meant to be the same characters, right? Like, the withered animatronics become the classic somehow. And you could argue it's like, why the fuck do they look so different? Isn't really explained. But the fact that they do look different is inarguable. And the fact that they are meant to be the same is also inarguable. Which to me implies, even if there is a very clear design difference between two things, the fact that these two are meant to be connected is not meant to be argued. You know, and that's how I feel about, like, if Burntrap and the Mimic are meant to be the same entity, the fact that there is no explanation for how they are physically the same despite being so different is kind of weird. And I guess I just want to know what the explanation is, if that's what we're doing with the story. I don't even, like, doubt the claim itself. It's just I'm waiting for it to be explained. Like, what happens between point A and point B to get them to look so different? Like I said, hopefully we get a Roxy's Mask situation where there's an explained reason for the two to look different. Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously, I feel like they are kind of setting up that one will become the other somehow, or one did become the other. With the whole Mimic stuff, but it's, particularly with the handprint and all that. But why? And where do they find all the other goddamn parts? done any second. Yeah, and where did Burn Trap's parts go? Because like the costume is inarguably not part of the Mimic. Like there's, yeah, like that's one of the bigger noticeable differences. Is like where the fuck did it go? It had a costume. Where is it? Or was the costume never canonically like finished or whatever? And if that's the case, it's like okay, then that's still more weird implications to figure out. Okay, whatever. I was looking at chat. I almost just ran into this ravine without like. I was like, I should probably look where I'm going rather than just run completely blind into this chunk. Okay, plenty of food now. Not worried about food at all for the rest of this run. And now we got this. Got some decent amount of coal. I haven't really run out of coal ever. Not too worried about coal. I feel like we haven't really run out of iron either. Like, we've never had a point where it's like, oh, well, if we just had 3 more iron, it would have been fixed. Not saying I want to have that happen, so I'm not going to gamble on that, but... I'm increasingly less and less worried about that quirk of the playthrough. Okay, helmet acquired. Guess. Once again, I could just kind of run into the nether. I get more if I get a bit more iron. Not that I have enough at all yet. Oh, slime. You know, it's interesting enough that I'll... That was really weird and very concerning rubber banding. I hear lava through that wall, too. That was a small jump scare. This is the real blob. An M3 would be an interesting possibility. Now, here's why I'm siding against it being an M3 for the time being, until we get an M3's existence confirmed. Because on one hand, there is something appealing about the premise of like Fazbear's attempt at recreating the Mimic as a plot beat, right? But here's my two reasons against it. One, for starters, one of the whole premises is that like even Edwin doesn't understand how he made the Mimic. Like it's just one of those things that's so advanced and special that it can't really be recreated, because the scenario that it was created in and for is just so raw and personal for Edwin that when he even when he tries to force himself to be back in that headspace, he really can't do it. And I would be a little surprised if Fazbear Entertainment could just pull it out of their asses and figure it out. Not like completely. I just wouldn't favor it, firstly. Secondly, it goes against one of the things I feel pretty good about, which is that after the events of Help Wanted 2, everything that was the Mimic is reverted, and that's what we see in Ruin. So we would have to argue that the Ruin Mimic is also not M2, but is in fact M3. And I'm kind of skeptical of that, or that would be like a factory default Mimic, which would kind of make it an M4. Well, there's our portal. Future portal. Diamonds, and this is a good cave. I will... I'll play ball. I'll try to get everything out of this cave that I can before I move on. Okay. 9. What was 7 plus 14, 21, 25 diamonds is what we need, right? For the full set of gear I would like to have. Like the best case scenario, right? Playing a gold, you always want gold. Even if the trades suck with the pigmen, it's usually like interesting to see what you get, and there's always the chance you do just get lucky and it's all justified. It could be like an Afton made the Mimic thing, and if that happens, I actually wouldn't be that surprised. That wouldn't be like a holy shit, I can't believe they did that. That was the last thing I expected moment. I think it's completely in character for him to bastardize the technology he finds and make an evil psychopath out of it by mistake. Or by intent, kind of, here. Um, if you yourself are evil, would you be surprised if your robot replica of yourself was evil and psychotic? Ask Hank Pym and he'll explain. I mean, Hank Pym's not that evil, but my point being, it's like, if you yourself aren't mentally stable, why are you basing the robot off yourself? I would like more diamonds. Or not more diamonds. That's obviously game. Iron. I would like more iron. Is that real? Is that like an actual escape to the cave? That's fascinating looking if it is. Well, okay. 10's not bad. What can I do at 10? 2, 4, 7. Okay. So I would have 3 left over if I stopped here, diamond-wise. Kill these spiders for the... Holy shit, this cave is huge. Once again, for all the goods and bads you can say about Mojang, the cave update rules. Like, one of the best revisions to the game they've done. Where's that? Here it is. I'm a little, not sad, but I'm a little like, oh, more disappointed, I guess, with the lack of more diamonds. But because 3's a really awkward number to end on. I couldn't even make boots out of those. So I kind of want to look for just like a few more, get something a little bit more substantial. Ugh, that's bad. And plus, there's still more to explore. Because diamond picks, diamond sword, that's 5. Then 2, yeah, that's 7 again. Yeah, there's no way around the minimum 7 for the diamond playthrough, basically. Like, once you get 7, that 7's kind of like, those are the 3 things you would want with those diamonds. Pretty inarguably. Okay. I'm pretty content on iron now. I'm looking for like any last individual diamond. Polish off my set. We still got 2 hours left for me to stream. Or 2 hours more that I'm willing to stream, I should say. If this run ends really stupidly, I might end it. Or like in a way where I'm like, I'm done for the night. You know that energy. I feel like almost everyone probably has had that, like moment when they play a game. There we go. damn it. Don't. No. Dying that way. Okay. So, I get boots out of this at least. Let me... That'll do. Okay. Well, let's start sorting everything out some. Get that going mainly. Got a little bit of that going too. Boop, 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 burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. Keep that action. I'm about to use that. Is there a way I can more efficiently do... There is. Let's say that's the corner block. I need those. Oh, why did you do that? Well, okay, this is not what I had in mind. I mean, it's still going to be faster than mining out all of the portal parts. You know, save anytime you can. But not as fast as it was going to be in my head. No. Need to go one. Sure. This part done. Okay, 2 wide. Then we'll mine 14. Enough to have a second portal in the end, the nether. That I can just get out back to the surface, or really anywhere. And that means the flint skill's done. And I don't have paper. shit, you're fast. Chill out, man. They weren't even worth it. Well, I have all the goddamn gold in the universe. A lot of diamonds. So trades are gonna be great in the Nether. On be a vein. It is. That means I can actually get a chest piece out of this, it looks like. A little bit more. 14. Currently I have a pickaxe. So I need 4 more for the enchantment table. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Now just do this for 6 eons. Average age golden age villain plot. That is true. A lot of those early villain comics are, or not villain comics, but villains in comics are just like, yes, money. Money is money, and money is everything. So everything is money. And then 60 years later, they'll end up being a serial killer with an unpredictable pattern of behavior. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend. This seed's alright. It's not as good as the 1 diamond seed we have. The nether of this world's going to really be a make or break for it. The fact that I uncharacteristically didn't grab sugarcane really bothers me. Usually I'm pretty good about that part of everything. But I really goofed it on this one. I will say if the spawn for this nether portal sucks, or doesn't show much promise at all, I will straight up pack everything I have, go to the surface, and try and get a better one. And go to surface also to finish my enchantment gear stuff. Here's the other thing with the weather that's not typically brought up about Midnight Motorist. And it's the thing that's actually stacked to me why I don't think it's Afton luring a kid. Like, it not only does it make the Springlock suit thing make less sense, but the missing kids are killed in June. Which, at least from what I know, and I looked this up to make sure I wasn't just misunderstanding how weather works. It doesn't, like, downpour with rain usually in June. In Utah, at least. Like that would be a very weird, like unusual weather pattern for that time of year in that state. Which, given that FNAF 6 is the game that establishes it's set in Utah, it's a weird thing to kind of draw attention to just for cinematics when it contradicts a prior point of evidence. And leads me to believe that it's not intended. Yeah, Minecraft generates by chunks. Okay, let's see what we're getting into. Okay. This isn't the worst. Okay, this is worth it. Kind of. Okay. We need that second part of last video. What? Okay. Go in there. Let me kind of dude myself. Yeah, I've started recording the bonus video. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one to edit because the script is admittedly pretty messy. I would say the script is not as good as I would want it to be, but also I've been writing it so perpetually back and forth. Ooh, that's a really good thing to get. That I'm like, okay, there needs to be a cut I finish at some point. You know, like I can't keep just rewriting the same script over and over again without ever progressing. That's kind of what I ended up happening with the whatchamacallit? The original video. Like I kept working on it so much that at a certain point I was just like, one of these needs to be the final cut. Like, I have to draw the line at some point. And I'm glad I did take the time to, like, work through alternate versions and stuff. I don't think that was a bad call. But I am glad that I eventually settled with a cut rather than trying to endlessly perfect something forever. It's going to take a bit. Yeah. I would say any creative is typically their worst critic. Just period. Okay, so 2 aside. Oh, I can do... Okay, I'll do that. I think good boots are going to be amazing to have. And we're not playing long enough for me to break a diamond chest plate. So. Good for potion crafting, too. Got several bottles. I know you can get bottles elsewhere, but it's just convenient to not have to. And I'll swap these out when I'm String's not a bad thing to get either. Let me make a bow with that. Okay, I'll take that. It's good to have. Gravel, also not bad to have. A ton of gravel, though. Okay, wow, you really like gravel. Yeah, how did they get a bottled water in that? I asked this a stream or so ago. Well, I can definitely portal out. I guess I'll burn this. It's taking up inventory space, and I've got plenty of food. Let me, while I'm doing this, I guess, make... Boop, boop, boop. Another shield. Swap that out, and then I'll mix the two when I'm lower durability. I would like to point out that the one thing I have not gotten in all of these cajillion trades is ender pearls. Are you kidding me? I stand by the statistic that I am one of the least lucky Minecraft players of all time. This is not a smart idea. But also, I'm not bothering with coming up with a better one. I'm kind of tempted to go in partially guns a-blazing with this fortress. I was about to say, dream luck I do not have. Okay, so here's part of why I'm like, let me go in quite literally guns a-blazing. Is I have 2 fire resistance potions, right? I have a decent supply of building blocks. I have an entirely new shield. I can reasonably, in this case, just go running in with fire resistance and knock some heads of places. I want to do a little bit of exploring first before I do that. Like, before I waste the very limited time I have. Come on. No. Food. That is what I want to do, is food. That would have been really bad. I should have looked up before I did that. Need that. That's good spawner. That's good isolated, like... Let me just, like, knock heads here. Reason. build this goddamn cage overhead. One minute 40 seconds left. Okay. That's not that bad. Oh. Well, lucky me. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. Where are you gonna rate? Yes, I should build a wall to hide behind if I needed that. And I want to get about 8. We have figured out that's about what I need for potion crafting. There's a warped forest over there. That's great. I think I build over there, set up a portal there. Find some nether wart so I can potion craft. But 8 should pretty much cover me for the rest of the run, and then we go to the warped forest. Alright. Since I'm only doing 2 left... Yeah, I don't think I pop the potion for this. I think I just finish it naturally. But plenty of shield durability, plenty of sword durability. Okay, 8. Yeah, and then if I get more, I get more. Okay. A little concerning. What I'm a little annoyed by is I haven't found any nether wart sections yet. Yeah, I'm just finding these little, like, hidey hole spots. They're cool and all. They're somewhat useful, but I need nether wart for improving my chances against the dragon. It looks like there's a lower section there. A little worried it's in line of sight of blazes. But... Am I misreading how this is structured? I need more building blocks anyway, who cares? This looks weird, right? This looks like it's supposed to be an area. Ow. I need food. blaze rods are actually not that helpful. That's exact second. Where's the under parts? I've seen one. I've seen like one underground segment. And I'm getting just like wasting damage taken for that. I'm willing to play a little dumb there. Hold on. Okay, let me go a little lower, like reassess some. Where is like the underground parts that are supposed to like give you all the chests and stuff? Well, it looks like there's some stuff over there. No. I'm very lucky there. Okay, that looks like something. Once again, I got the fire resistance potion. I'm not gonna die right away if I fall. Okay. At least I shouldn't, and I need to go this direction anyway. So, yeah, that's the part I blocked off. That's the only known underground bit so far. And it's a dead end, so it's not very helpful. Come on. Back where we were. I'm never getting that. My conclusion is this is like glitched or something like that. This is clearly not how this is supposed to spawn. And if I want to progress, I'm gonna have to just go over here. Okay, let me start building up blocks while I'm a little safe around a corner. The only reason I didn't mark off the coordinates of the portal in this world is because I'm going to build my way out. I'm not going to go to the same portal spot. Since this is higher up and further away, it's probably better. My plan is, since the And Endermen are the next major dangerous spot. This is the exact shit that's annoying me for trying to build over. I think I'm just gonna go for it. And some luck has finally passed. I mean, actually, spawning right next to the fortress is probably the biggest luck I'm gonna get this run. Granted, it wasn't a particularly amazing fortress, other than the spawn locations for the blazes. That part was pretty good. And with this fire potion, since we're gonna waste it if we don't use it, I don't mind playing a bit recklessly. Let's use some immense amount of gravel. More gravel than we can believably use. Okay, gravel doesn't work there. What's the best way to get over? I guess it's just go over there. Nope, not yet. I only have 3 minutes on that. Do you think William would punt a kid in public? I actually don't think so. It's specifically on the condition in public. It doesn't get him anything to just randomly punt a kid other than like catharsis and sadism. So he's not really being bartered with pretty well in this scenario. Like there's not a, ooh, this is a thing I'm trying to get out of this interaction that would be fun or interesting to learn or whatever. Aside from I get to kick a child, which is funny. So that's my first major critique. Secondly, William does seem to care about his like public perception of like the common person. So I think the public really holds him back in here. Like, it seems like, you know, he's a serial killer. Part of being a killer is that you can't get caught. If you get caught, you can't kill anyone. So that's my other major is like, I don't think William's dumb enough to throw away his public perception and his ability to kill children just for the momentary glee of punting a child. You know, there's trade-offs. It's a complicated work-life balance. You don't always get the things you want in life. Okay. One down. Like I said, killing Endermen, despite being a necessary part of how this game works, is incredibly upsetting as a mechanic. Not only are they like some of the more innocent, less harmful creatures in this world, I mean, they're harmful to you when they're aggroed, but like as entities, they don't attack you unless provoked. So it's like upsetting because you're attacking something that's kind of innocent relatively, and unlike other innocent mobs like pigs, cows, or whatever, like they're sentient. They speak. They have voices and all that. So they're like on some level intelligent. So you're killing sentient, harmless life that doesn't attack you unless you attack it. And then it makes this horrible noise when it's killed, which really conveys this like this wasn't meant to happen. Like you're attacking something alien and otherworldly against its like really not even just against its will, but like against its nature. Like disturbing. It's kind of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where it's like it doesn't really seem like the creatures have any sense of harm or danger that they want to invoke, other than the fact they just want to encounter humanity and kind of learn a little bit from them in the moment. And it's like the military almost freaks the fuck out over that, if I remember the movie correctly. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in a bit. So it's like it's kind of that energy. It's like this thing has no malice towards me, and I am bombing the shit out of it, or I'm threatening to blow the shit out of its ship or whatever. And in this case, it's like this thing, all it's doing is walking around, interacting with the world in some way. A thing I do as a player already, and yet I appear to be taking that like free will and ability to go ever away from it by killing it. Very messed up. Very, like, one of the more upsetting things in the game. In Undertale, this would earn you EXP. It's like watching a spider die, too. It's like there's something so upsetting about, like, how clearly in pain and distressed it is. Like, spiders aren't creatures inherently easy to empathize with. Or not emphasize, empathize with. They're weird, they're like alien, they're kind of alien looking, they're one of the creatures that looks the furthest away from humanity that we can encounter on like a day-to-day basis. That's my personal theory of like what arachnophobia is like it's so different from me in such a way I can't understand or like relate to in any way. But like the way it like a spider like curls up when it dies is so upsetting. Honestly, any dead animal or like injured looking animal to me really upsets me. Which is weird because I'm not squeamish around that stuff in video games. Like I am killing dozens of this Enderman population here. But it doesn't like upset me that much. However, the Endermen, they very much do. Because it's like I said, the spider thing, it's like it's like the almost humanoid way it reacts to like how upset it is, combined with the inhumanoid, like the impossible nature of it. What the fuck? Come on! This is maybe the least lucky kind of lucky world I've ever had. There we go, one more. Out of fucking 14 I basically need. 14 for safety. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this warp forest is the thing. I have no reason to, like, try and progress further. You know, like, there's no reason for me to cheat the system some. I guess I can try to trade some, but it's not going to, like, get me much here. Because odds are they're not going to give me ender pearls. There we go. Okay, that's good, I guess. Apparently they're thinking of reworking like some of the bonus enchantment stuff like blast protection, fire protection. Which I don't mind. It's not useless, but especially when I looked up what those enchantments really do so I could like weigh it all. They definitely aren't the most useful enchantments in the game. But I mean, there's scenarios I've run into where I think they would be very useful, but typically I feel like they aren't. Like, once you get out of the nether, it doesn't feel like the fire resistant stuff is super useful. It's actually weirdly case specific to the enemies in the nether. What? Why was I hit? Was it the one I was fighting? What the fuck happened there? Let me... I mean, this is not even that bad of a workhorse too, which is interesting. Like, I'm like, oh, I wish it was a little easier to traverse, but like, also, I'm like, well, I've had so many worse, you know, that at this point, I'm kind of just grateful to get one that has like some safe flat areas I can go into and all that. And I'm getting decent spawn rates at least. Like, I'm actually great in spawn rates of Enderman. Finding them has not been the problem. What's been a fucking pain is are always like in weird spots. And I'm not getting good drop rate at all. Would I kill them to increase the drop rate of pearls like a little bit? Like, I think they're a 1 in 16 right now. Could we maybe get 1 in 8? Because it's like, they're a cool, but they're a mechanic that already comes with a price. They're already tied to progression of the game. So it's like, you need them. but whatever. Well, I did, but I didn't. Or, like, add a mechanic that, like, speeds up the process of getting them from Enderman specifically. You know? Because you add this whole biome to speed up this process, and it's not actually... I mean, it's faster because you're getting more chances to check the chance, you know? And it's a little faster than setting up a full village and all that to do the other way. Get it via trades and all that. So that takes that's a whole ordeal. Is basically configuring an economy to produce ender pearls for you. But at least that's consistent, and like there's a kind of a point at the end of the tunnel where you know it'll be done. This is like, I know it'll be done eventually. Like if I roll the dice eventually, I'll land 16, 14 times. But come on. There we go. Like, it'd be cool if I could hit them in the head and get it pearls more often, you know? Looting enchantment, yeah. I guess that's the thing. But I don't have a looting enchantment. I want like a skill, like I said, I want a skill-based thing where like you hit them in the head and it switches it to like 1 in 4, which encourages you to like aim a bit more precisely and dance around the thing that specifically aggroes them. Actually, let me do this too. There we go. You know, while I have this flat area, I've got pretty good shield durability. You're not in range for this? Weird. I thought there was, like, no limit to how far it would really work. Maybe it's just because I have such insane render distance from, Distant Horizons. I was really debating, like, because this is mildly modded, but it's no gameplay mods. It's all performance and, like, visual experience stuff, like increasing frame rate and all that. And the other one is I just wanted better render distance because Distant Horizons is one of the best mods that I think has been created in ages. And there's also Voxy, which is the other version. I think it's on Fabric. I think Foxy's actually technically a little bit better. Or I just felt like there was more of the stuff I was more familiar with working with in Neoforge, so I decided to run with that. Okay. Hold on. Okay, well... 9. 10. Got a bunch in a row here. 11, that's good. We're on a roll now. This is where all my RNG was waiting. Swear you're hiding from me now. Come on. There we go. It'd be very funny. I don't think Mojang would do this. I think that would actually, like... I think it kind of goes against their view of, like, the game design, balance, and all that. But it'd be funny if... specifically to I don't know, reward taking the Enderman fights more seriously. It'd be funny if they patched it so that boats like scare Endermen or something like that. Okay, so we're near about my minimum. I want like one more. I want like 2 I could throw in the fight to save myself from fall damage, which is what killed me last time. And I don't feel really in that much danger in this current run. And I can leave any time I want. And there's... I mean, there's some stuff that's mildly dangerous here. But... Is there anything I want, like, other things here that I'm trying to think, like, what's other nether stuff I can get? I don't think there's much. 14, I'll kill this one because it's right here. Why not? I'm glad I did that. 15 makes me much more comfortable with all this. Ooh. Are you over solid ground? You are. I would not mind a gas tier, which I'm not going to get. 16? 16? 16! You know? This has overall been worth it. So I just get the one flint I need. So I didn't take my flint and steel, which I don't think was a bad call. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense that Enderman can be stopped by boats at all. Like, conceptually, I don't understand the reason why. Hey! Hey! This was sick as shit. And speak of the devils! I was looking for... I was about to actually, like, be like, hey, I actually need you guys. You guys aren't strong enough to hurt me anymore. I mean, okay, now I'm a little concerned. Okay, so... Die. Die for your sins. There's a Nautilus. Okay, so this honestly worked out very well. I still have plenty of food. I don't need that much gravel anymore. I have 64. I'll take some extra more for experience than anything. And now let's start gathering a ton of sugarcane. Maybe find a village, actually. Borrow a library. I mean, there's going to be a library in the... What's that? What am I looking at over there? Is just chunks loading in weird? I think it's just chunks loading in weird. All right. This is a run that's going to the end, so that's good. We have quite excess in terms of ender pearls. We don't really need bones. We got phantom membrane, which is cool. No. Phantom membrane. Don't need one random tough. Okay. Let's start the whole process up. Okay. The boring direction, but I'll take it. The more interesting would be the cherry blossom. Cherry blossoms are cool. You know, this might... And I don't say this lightly. There is a pretty reasonable chance that this is the run that wins. I feel like I've learned a lot. I've practiced some of the fight quirks some. We have a lot of equipment. There's like very specific things would have to go wrong to kill this run. I have a ton of food. I have diamond armor. Not all of it, but some. I can build a lot of book stuff very quickly. So I can get pretty high level enchantments. I haven't been able to do that up to this point, really. That's been a big... Not a big obstacle. The enchantments are useful, but they're not always game breaking to have or not. But I can actually get pretty good enchantments this time. Because I can prepare a lot more ahead of time than I have been up to this point. I'll try to get a lot of wood for that purpose. Sand for potions. I already have bottles. Bottles were a thing I've already gotten. I've already got a water bucket, so I'm good on potion stuff. Maybe I'll take a few just in case. I could really stock up on potions, like have a potion for almost everything. Maybe I'll get melons, which would be cool, so I could have instant health potions. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a stocked run. I have pretty much everything I could want. if I can find a village on the way there, that's even better. That's maybe the best case scenario. Let me switch stuff around. I don't need that much wood. Let me go to this next landmass and then toss that to Pearl. Oh, there's like a little wreckage underground. Is that a new thing? What is that? I don't care. I don't want to tackle something, then die to bullshit and lose the run to drowns. Do you think of like a highlight video? I might. I'm thinking about it. It's a lot to edit through is the thing. There's so many streams I've done on it over the years. Because like this is a recent surge of like attempts on it. I've developed like new interest in running it because Hytale's coming out. Okay, now we're still going the same direction. Maybe a slight drift right. But it seems like the same course. Yeah, Ender Pearls. I think potions I just like reserve one slot for out of the rotation. And then I rotate them with when need be. I think Slowfall definitely is just a run the time on it. I don't think there is a Slowfall 2 that will really save me. So just get a big time on that. 8 minutes should work. And then one strength, I would say, if we find melons in this jungle, we could do health. Instant health, which would be cool. If I do see, like, melons on the way, which I think I do, I think I see green. Or it shouldn't be hard to find melons here, either. Okay, level of detail, you can load in. I know that's the point of the mod, is to lower the level of detail as you get further or something, but I'm close enough where I can actually see the details. But yeah, I might grab 3 sand just to have as many potions as possible. Yep, here we go. Okay. I don't need the wool. Bundle that. I guess this will be like my potion bundle. Grab the 3 sand. What's the other sand? There it is. Let's see. I don't want to have to dig through the jungle, but do I even have the gold anymore? Okay, so it's this way. We're close. But also, gold's not that hard to get, especially in dungeon context. I guess I didn't really need to break it, but whatever. Guess I'll mark the next. Okay, keep an eye out underwater, because it's always possible that it's underwater. What What is that? Where is that a village? I saw something weird over there. Okay, let's get to this cliffside. Ooh, a gravel cliff. That would be insanely annoying in real life to climb. Okay, let's see. No, it's probably in the water. That's annoying. So, 24... 24. Okay. Let's see. From here where? That's interesting. Is that related? So it's a little around here? No. Here? Okay, so it's right there. Where's the pearl? Okay. Let's see if I can find, like, the lowest point here. Or just, like, an entry point here in general. Well, that's the Gold for the Glistening Melons. Nope, well, there we are. Okay. First priority, find the portal, obviously. Second priority, find the library. If possible. Which I think we might have not done. Guess I'll take food, but like... I think I'll just cook. Oh, well. Duh. Okay. Okay, let me write... Doing this just because I feel like there's a non-zero chance I somehow mess it all up. And I'm not gambling on that. Okay, let's see. Let me just like pull up on my phone. Let me not do this through the chat in game. -622 4 -1626. Okay. I have the coordinates for the portal room now. Where did my sand go? I had more sand. Guess I was dumb. Fountain room. Library room would be very ideal. I mean, I can do it with the 3 I have, I guess, but... Yeah, second water bucket's on my mind. Come on, library. Oh, there it is. Well, kind of. Okay. Yeah, okay. Is there anything else here that's interesting? Okay. Well, I think we just do the enchantment stuff now. Get it over with. And that will also... Oh, there's the other sand. Okay, I wasn't dumb. Fully. I was partially dumb. Always a little. Okay. Now... Okay. Oh. That's cool. Density, protection. I can't even use all of this is the thing. As much as I want to. But I will use as much as possible. Okay, let me... Get an enchantment. Or get... Blech, whatever. Put things away for a split second. Now let's... Boop, 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 boop. Just get that done. Put that here. And now let's gather. Place other stuff, get it out of the way in the meantime. I don't even know what some of these enchantments are. Okay. I'm not even sure this really affects call it enchantment strength that much. But whatever. I want to get the most out of it I can. Okay, bow's fine. So let's start with bow. Punch. Unbreaking. I don't like either of those. Ooh, that's cool. I don't really get to use a lot of that, but that's cool. Let's see, check the bow. Power 3, yes. And Unbreaking's cool. Chest piece. No. Let's check this. Protection 4. I also will say no. Let's... Okay, I guess I'll craft a new iron sword. And iron helmet with the last of my iron. Let's see what we can get on either of those. Main sweeping edge sharpness. Fire protection, projectile blast protection. Do I just make like a dummy item to rotate out the next enchantment? What's the level qualifier? 12. Okay. Well. Or do I upgrade to maybe get new stuff cycled in? Let me see if this can get me better items. If not, I'll enchant those books themselves, try and, once again, cycle out some not-so-good enchantments. Bane of Arcbroad Sharpness. I haven't checked the Iron Leggings yet. Checked out. God damn it. Why enchant pick? Just because I can. Like, why not? It's better for mining stuff in the end and all that. If I can, like, why wouldn't I? Yeah, I think I'll just make, like, here. I'll do this, bait out one enchantment because none of these are good. Sharpness 1. Sharpness isn't bad, but I can get better. Okay. Fire protection? No. Projectile fire? No. I'll take protection 1, I guess. Let's see. What's the best? Unbreaking, Bane of Arthropods. Protection 2. I'd rather take protection 2 on this. Knockback, Unbreaking. Projectile protection. Feather falling. That's what I was looking for. I was specifically trying to get feather falling. Looting, Smite, Sharpness 4. No. I mean, Sharpness 4 would be great if I could get it, but... Breaking... Once again, I think I baited out with another sword. Which is cool, but it's not useful in this specific context. I don't even have enough. I didn't know it would shift to 18. Okay, let me grab the old sword. Yeah, craft an axe. I'll do that. Let me kill some enemies, I think. That might be a good way to... Here, let me... That way. Just a breadcrumb marker. Because I do need to find... Because that was the last bit. If I can get Sharpness 2, that will be completely worth it. Of course, I get the most silent dungeon ever. So Sharpness 2 Iron Sword into the final with Strength Boost. Pick another Iron Sword if I really want. Would be pretty big. Okay. Ow. Ow. What's the recipe for grind? Stone? I was thinking of maybe like running a grindstone, like get some stuff out, but That'll work. Kind of. I mean, this part will work. I do need building blocks, I guess. Just mine until I find a cave, I guess. You know, I can also get experience from smelting. Let me get that started. That might polish off the last few levels I need while also slimming down my inventory. Really? Why -2 no caves? What's down here? Nothing. Well, that's something. That progresses somewhat. I also needed redstone for the duration extension. So we got plenty of building blocks. Got a bit more XP. I just need 3 levels of the thing, which shouldn't be that hard to get. Another thing I could do for that last bit of experience. Let me put this on. That I just thought about. Kind of a silly trick to pull at this point. But, I'll see where this puts me. Okay, this is not enough for what it is. If I can... Yeah, spawns. Okay, so it's just right down there. If I... Yeah, this should be 6, right? I can build a nether portal. And go into the nether. And get quartz there for the remaining experience. And that way, I could actually get up to 30 pretty quickly. And then I would have sharpness 4 going into the fight. How does that sound? that to me seems like the actual optimal way to get the remaining like experience and stuff I need. It also makes use of this pickaxe I invested time and stuff into. I want to place this portal right here. Oop. Let me finish the rest of it. Boop, boop. Boop. Oh. Because quartz is the most efficient way to grind experience in the game, to my knowledge. I mean, obviously, there's still the risk that we just die randomly to something in this run. But something I've also kind of realized is, like, it feels a little bit like the more time I have things drag out, the more at risk I am to die. Okay, this is not a good spawn for what I had in mind. Okay, well, I can make this work. This is one where I want portals notes. 80, 30, 191. Okay. Don't want to fight the Enderman in this case. This is what I want. I want this specific stretch of... Yep, here we go. Yeah, here we go. So, until I run out of safe land, I'll mine quartz. And I got a little bit of building blocks out of this. So we're already at the requirement, but like I said, if I can get, I don't think I'll get 30 in this time frame. But let's see how far I can go, you know? If I can get up to 30 again, or at least get enough that I can get a lot of high-level enchantments, then we're golden. I'm not dealing with ghast over here. I'm not even at that much of a risk of dying to a ghast. I just don't want to deal with them. They piss me off. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to run with the 20. Then down. Here should be the... Here, yep. Okay. Get this off. So, let's see. Protection 2... And then the alternatives, protection 2, smite, unbreaking, sharp. Okay. So we do protection 2 first. And now sword, smite, fuck. Okay, I'll take sharpness 1. Let's see, what's the alternative? What's, oh, no. What's the next? Knockback, sweeping it, okay. Well, it's not perfect. But I'd argue it doesn't need to be. Okay, let's next thing to work on, potion craft, which I never got nether wart for. Fuck. Enchant axe. Yeah. I'll check what the enchantments are, but I don't think axes can get sharpness. Efficiency. Why not? Okay, that throws a wrench into the plan. I know I could just go to the nether and find the remainder. But I don't want to have to search for another fortress. That doesn't seem like a good use of time to me. That sucks. I actually do need the feathers. Okay, let me get two more for more arrows. No, I only have 2 iron. I don't feel like getting the remainder. Not this close to the end. Okay, boop. Don't need that. Iron could be useful for another shield, so I'll take it. Building blocks over there. Boop. The bundle's not useful anymore. Yeah, I'll do the other sword. Why not? I could get a better enchantment, so it's let's see. 19 looting, sweeping, short. Okay, no, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same sword. So I would say let's basically run it. And I don't have a way to get another shield might be important. Well, we're a little too late for that. Shields don't get enchantments, I think. Well, we got tons of excess ender pearls. I think we just run it, honestly. Helmets, protection 2, protection 2, protection 1, feather falling 1. This honestly is not a bad setup. The lack of potions sucks. But you know, if we're not going to have it, we're not going to have it. In we go. Oh, this is a bad spawn. I'm anxious about this. Okay, so 3 is pearls. We need more arrows too, but, you know. I don't have my boat for some reason. That sucks. Okay, since this takes like 2 seconds, and I don't think he can hit me from down here, I want the boat in backup. If, like, let's say he destroys like a water source, or she actually, this jet dragon's name is Jean. She's canonically a she. But whatever. Um, okay, I'm just gonna have to do very well. Okay. It angered a lot of Endermen. That was really risky. I thought I almost aggroed one. Between. Okay. Well, we're not doing bad on the crystals. Actually, the crystals in general don't look that bad for where they are. Okay. Spawn. There's one there. I'm just not interacting with the dragon when I can avoid it. Dying to stupid shit has killed me so many times. I'm wasting too many. Okay. One down. One revival down. Well, we're already doing better in that specific regard. Okay. This game knows how to freak me the fuck out. I almost aggroed one again. Oh, wow. Lucky shot. No, not good. Okay. Water bucket. Okay, is this? Yep. Oh, hey. Well, this is the fastest we've completed the base route. Okay, so now it's to the actual dragon fight. Which... Let me see if I can... Okay. By the way, that's about the same amount of damage as the rocket stuff was doing. Using F5 to track it. Oh, hey, some ender pearls. That actually is really useful that you killed some. Every look up freaks me out. Dragon? Gene. Please. No. I need you to perch. Think they're going in? What was that? On. Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, that's, I think, the best we've done. I'm glad that it keeps hitting the towers instead of me. I've noticed that it keeps whiffing those, because it keeps firing while it's midway through a tower or something. Like that. See how it's like it started the fire right at the while it was midway through the tower? No. I'm really glad that didn't count. I'm glad my mouse sensitivity is so high that it sometimes just doesn't hit them when I flail my mouse around. So we're about halfway. I think this is the new best. This is usually where things fall apart. But I have already saved myself with the Ender Pearl. I have Feather falling on top of that. I want to run towards the center in case it tries to perch. I feel like we're overdue for a perch. And I think we're getting it. My projectile collided before yours did. I have 6 arrows left. It can still basically one-shot me at any time. Well, if there's a lag tick. I can't engage. Okay, I can't engage. I think? Does it steal damage? I did it! I did it! Don't kill me now. Don't kill me now. That Enderman freaked me out at the end. I was a little worried I was going to biff it. Right in time for 3 o'clock at 2:48. Here, let's grab the Ender Dragon Egg while we're at it. Okay. Let's see. I just want to have the dragon egg just in case. No, not just in case, just for fun. Victory lap. I'm shaking. Okay. No ambiguity with victory. Yeah, the XP for the enchantment now. Yeah. Minecraft. I have officially beaten Minecraft on hardcore. I see the player you mean. JJZX0520. Yes, take care. It is a reacher. It has reached a higher level now. It can read our thoughts. That doesn't matter. It thinks we are part of the game. I like the player. It played well. It did not give up. It is reading our thoughts as if though they were words on the screen. That is how it chooses to imagine many things. When it is deep inside the dream of a game. Words make a wonderful interface, very flexible, and less terrifying than staring into reality behind the screen. They used to hear voices before players could read. Back in the days when those who did not play called the players witches and warlocks, and players dreamed and flew on the air on sticks powered by demons. What did this player dream? They dreamt of sunlight and trees, of fire and water. It dreamt it created. It dreamt it destroyed. It dreamt it hunted and was hunted. It dreamed a shelter. Ha, the original interface, 1,000,000 years old and it still works. And what true structure did this player create in the reality behind the screen? It worked with 1,000,000 others to sculpt a true world in a fold of the and created a for the and it cannot read that thought. No, it is not achieved yet the highest level. That must achieve a long dream of life, and not the short dream of a game. Does it know that we love it? That the universe is kind? Sometimes. Through the noise in its thoughts, it can hear the universe, yes. But there are times it is sad in the long dream. It creates worlds that have no summer, and it shivers on a black sun, and it takes its sad creation for a reality. To cure it of its sorrow would destroy it. The sorrow is part of its private task. We cannot interfere. Sometimes when they are deep in the dreams, I want to tell them they are building true worlds in reality. Sometimes I want to tell them of their importance in the universe. Sometimes when they have not made true connection in a while, I want to help them speak for what the world they fear. It reads our thoughts. Sometimes I do not care. Sometimes I wish to tell them that this world is truth, is merely brink, and I wish to tell them that they are in the brink. There's so little reality in their long dream until they play the game. But it would be so easy to tell them, too strong for this dream. To tell them how to live would prevent them from living. I will not tell the player how to live. The player is growing restless. I will tell the player a story, but not the truth. No, a story contains the truth safely in a cage of words, but the naked truth will burn down any distance. Give it a body again. Yes, the player. Use its name. JJZX0520. Player of games. Good. Take a breath now. Take another. Feel the air in your lungs. Let your limbs return. Yes, move your fingers. Have a body again. Under gravity and air, respawn back in the long dream. There you are. Your body touching the universe again at every point. As though we were separate things. As though we were separate things. Who are we? We are called the spirit of the mountain. Father Sun, Mother Moon, ancestral spirits, animal spirits, jinn, ghosts, the Green Man, then gods, demons, angels, poltergeists, aliens, extraterrestrials, leptons, quarks. The words change. We do not change. We are the universe. We are everything that you think that isn't you. You are looking at us now through your skin and eyes. And why does the universe touch your skin and throw light on you? To you, the player, to know you, and to be known, I shall tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a player. The player was you, JJCX0520. Sometimes, though itself not human, on the thin crust of spinning globe and molten rock, this ball of molten rock, bowling glass, 130 meters, 30 bricks, so, I can't, I've, this is too much, I lost track. Let's go back. To the atoms of the player were scattered in grass and rivers and in the air and the ground. The woman gathered in the atom, she drank and ate and inhaled, and the woman assembled the player in her body, and the player awoke from the warm dark of its mother's body into a long dream. Sorry. Oh. Milk Love. Jesus Christ, this is long. I can go back and read it. Holy shit, I didn't know it was this long. I didn't remember it being this incredibly long. Wow. Waiting for it to spawn back in the world. Wow, what a game. It's about 8 minutes, cheap as heck in Cristo. Look at all these people. I'm trying to... Oh, there it is. Well, after all that... Yeah, I have no spawn. It's hardcore mode. Well, this is a hardcore world. That is victory. Okay. Yeah, press escape. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I don't think I'll do another stream before Hytale. I mean, I have a Monday before it, but I think I'll do other shit on that day. And this is finally a thing on my bucket list. Let's check the advancement list. We didn't do a lot. Admittedly. I don't care about that. Maybe someday I'll like revisit the save file, try to beat the Wither. I don't think so. Honestly, like I don't expect that. That's just a thing that crossed my mind if I'm bored. I don't want to lose this file though. You know?